Turn on some music. Okay. Grab what I need. Probably gonna need this. Hey, Alex. Take that off. Don't need that reference, so I can use this. Let's see, something standard. Okay. And my driver is not working, so I need to fix that. Is it working now? There we go. Or slightly working. I have to reset this. Don't save. Turn it off. It's the only downside to that. See, does it work now? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, need my other reference. There we go. Hope you're doing well, Alex. Usually the mouse would be a little bit more out of there. Yeah, this week was kind of like meh. The question is, which side do I put this on? Probably that side. Let's do that this way. Oh no, this is not Becky. Oh yes, this will be fun. I think the challenge will pretty much just be getting the hair right. Because that's usually, well, not usually the case, kind of just depends on the character. The hair cover her eyes just to make it seem like it's more isolating for her expression. I mean, technically she was known, but you didn't really get my... Yeah, pretty much. Yep, it's her. Because she hasn't had any artwork of herself. Technically there's artwork of Lucy, but Lucy doesn't have like her profile art either, but and neither does Bob. But yeah, I figured I'd draw Grace first before the other two. Pretty much just need to get her initial look down and tighten up her details after the fact. But yes, this is Becky's mother. Tighten up that up a bit. Gonna try to lean in a little bit more to time taking its toll on her, but not too much. Oh yes. She's definitely got her mom's scowl. An unimpressed look. Probably tighten the shoulders a bit. Darkwater scowl. Yep, Grace used to be a groupie. That's pretty much how Becky came to be. Just depends on what kind of outfit I give her before I do other details. Yeah, for the most part. Still deciding on what type of legs I'm gonna give her, because that can vary when it comes to Beast Jewels. Because not everything is 100% consistent. I'll probably just give her the typical, you know, duck legs, like similar to how Donald and Daffy have it, but like obviously more thicker because of her anatomy. Although some cartoon characters do have those type of legs too, so it kind of varies, I guess. But yep, her mom is just a normal duck. Nothing special about her appearance or any special abilities other than, I don't know, just working a job. It's kind of all she has. But she definitely used to get around when she was younger. Let's see, how do I want her to hold this? Yeah, I can do it that way. Well, let's see. Not counting her, there's at least 13 members. Of different species, so yeah. She definitely wasn't walking immediately after. Ah, crap. I need to look up. Look up Becky's sister for a moment. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, how many fingers did I give her? This is kinda important. Where are you? There you are. Okay, yes, she has 5 fingers. Because I'm like, shit. Because at least in Becky's case, her having multiple fingers or limbs or whatever is expected. But like, I have to stay consistent with her immediate family. Holding it like this. This is furled. Okay. Let me know if you're hearing like too much background noise, because it's a little windy and my window's open to keep things cool. But if it's too noisy, then I'll go and close it. Yeah, Grace doesn't exactly have the best relationship with her daughter. Yeah, doesn't look right. Do this right-handed for a moment. She probably did. Shoot. She probably did suck 37 dicks in a row. And yes, that is a very good movie. I mean, if they worked it out correctly, they could just, you know, streamline their dicks. It's like, oh, all 13 of them can get their dicks sucked and then just rotate. So do it 3 times, that's 36 already. So one of them probably got their dick sucked once more than the others, if you were to go off of that logic. And, oh my god, that is not looking right. Let's fix this. I can focus too much on the digits. Yeah, I'm trying not to have my music on too loud either, because somehow, like, even though this is royalty-free music, it sometimes gets copyright claimed or whatever, and it could be it could also be because of how low it is, so it's like sounding like other songs. So who knows? All I know is that I just have to either change the music or do whatever else I have to do. It's not really that big of a deal. YouTube's not my focus, but it's still an annoyance to have videos claimed by other people. Worst case scenario, I just turn streams into speed paint, so that way I just use YouTube's music. Okay, so got her initial stance. Let's tighten this up a bit more. Because Becky's mom is relatively skinny. Though her smoking doesn't exactly help. Makes this a little bit longer. Becky probably got other mannerisms from her mother, such as the whole being super chill with sleeping with her boss thing. She's just like, whatever, doesn't give a fuck. So yeah, I'll probably have like her feathers end about around here. think I'll just have her in casual clothing. And when she like goes to work or something, I'll have her more dressed up. They're a lot thinner, but we're trying to thicken it up a bit. And then there's always like ferrokene that would be more closer to how ducks actually look. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Might be a short stream today. No. I am going to be working on that this weekend. Mostly I just need the main, like, character that I'm working on finished up. And then once I get her down, everyone else will be really easy, because she's like the only, like, not necessarily the only one that matters, but like the only one that I really need to like nail down. But everyone else will be pretty much good. But yeah, I'm gonna be working on that, and then I'm gonna start working on pages during the week, because if I can get, because like the rules for the contest was like at minimum 60 pages, so that's like what, 15 or so pages, or not 60 pages, 60 panels, and so that's like roughly 15 pages or so. So I just have to because I have until like the end of August, it's July or August. So if I do like 2 panels a day, that should be enough time to get everything, anything down on it, or like to have it finished up and all that. Nothing to really share on it at the moment, other than just like figuring out the best setting for it based on how I want it to work. Because it's just one of those logic things where it's like, you know, if you let it exist in reality, then you're gonna have to take, like, you know, economic issues into it, because it's like, okay, if all these characters have like let's just say they have special abilities or something, how does that affect everybody else? So it's one of those things that I'm trying to consider, because I don't want it to just be like, oh yeah, we have all these crazy characters going around and nobody's worried about, you know, their world getting blown up or set on fire and stuff like that. So it's just one of those situations where it's like, pick the best setting to help excuse all these choices. So it's like I think I'm pretty much settled on what I want, because it's the best way to go about it. Now I'm just working on the main character's design. Because once she's all set up and then everything else, then I can pretty much get started on everything else. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna change up the page format, so it's gonna be closer to how you would read it on mobile. And I pretty much have the how to do it set, because like luckily Clip Studio comes with like a Webtoons format already pre-built, so they pretty much help set it up for you. Obviously, you got to make the panels and other stuff like that yourself, but they give you like a good beginning start. Just got to change the settings a bit so that way it's not too crazy. But yeah, I was already pre-working on that, getting that set up. Alright, so let's give her... She seems like a tank top person. Yeah, I've been going over the rules multiple times to make sure I try to optimize as much as I can. And then, like, I was also thinking of using the Worldgate's Unguard as a possible comic choice. But I think I'll save that for just putting it out and not worrying about it being related to the contest or anything like that. Because I'd rather have the other idea be the focus. Actually, hers would be a lot tighter. So yeah, definitely I want to get everything down this week so I can get started on working on it. And then try not to pad it out too much. So I'll pretty much decide on if it's going to be just used as a pilot comic or a one-shot comic, or make it so that it's open to just continue on from that point if it were to get picked up or continued or whatever. So debating on that, but I think I'll try to stick it closer to a one-shot. I don't know. I think it might just be easier just to leave it open so that way I can just continue it where it left off. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I'll just keep, like, the premise of what it's about as the focus, and then have, the main character, like, the character that will be used for, like, the main story. Probably save her for, like, if it continues on, but also, like, allude to her. So that way she's not just wasted on a point. I could just start off where she's already part of the team too, because I have a lot of options to go with. So I might just make it so that she's already usable, gets the point across of what the thing is about, and then if it continues on, I can start off with, you know, how she joined up as the focus character in the first place. So I'll probably do something like that. Because, like, if I was to use Buckle, for example, because, like, Buckle's start was just, you know, Natalie already having her abilities and stuff like that. So maybe I'll just go off of that type of beginning start. Okay. And fuck it, she'll probably be wearing short shorts just because she doesn't want to admit that she's getting old. She would be that stubborn. Let me tighten this up a bit. So yeah, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible and not try to do too much expedition. Because there's like there's like, I want to say there's a lot that goes into it, but it's also pretty simple on what the idea is. It's just, oh hey, you have a bunch of these, go for it. I'm trying not to say too much because I'm streaming, because I don't want to put out the idea online. But yeah, I'll just try to keep it simple. That's basically the goal here. Keep it simple, but leave it open enough where you can get complicated. And worst case scenario, I can always just, you know, do more with it on my own time, or same thing for like Unguard or Buckle. Well, Buckle definitely needs to get an update. I'm debating on going through Buckle's pages and just making them more for a mobile. Mobile, that sounds so weird. Mobile. Yeah. So I'll probably just make it more focused as a one-shot, because that seems to be the best way to go about it. And just start with the main character already on the team, and then go from there. And then if it does become a comic that continues on, that I can continue on with, then I'll focus on how the characters, you know, came about and stuff like that. So just start off as, you know, everybody knows everybody. Keep the basic story pretty simple, and then go from there. So that'll pretty much be the. Oh yeah, like the whole. There at some point there's gonna be at minimum 1v1 and at most 3v3. And then the other idea is like, you know, depending on which character shows up, they have their own, like, specific lore that they subconsciously follow. So, like, it has to be planned out on which ones you're using, because it might screw up your balance. Yeah, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to admit that she's old. And Grace will walk around in short shorts. She's still skinny though. She ain't like her daughter who's got a gigantic ass. And she has a bit of a smoker's voice. But that's because she hasn't quit. And she's not bad looking for someone who's had 2 kids. Probably put gray in her hair though. Like, she'll probably have like 1 streak of gray because she's probably been trying to, like, probably dyeing her hair or something, but like it keeps showing up. But yeah, Grace and Becky's relationship is very complicated. Give her like bracelet or something. Like, even though it's like casual outfit, she'll still probably wear some accessories here and there. And then Grace also has a tattoo somewhere on her. Although by furry logic, the tattoo shouldn't technically show up, but whatever, we're just gonna, you know, dye the fur in a certain way, or feathers in a certain way, so that way it looks like they have a tattoo. But Grace definitely has that. It's like, oh, what did you do in your youth? And her just thinking back, is like, what the fuck didn't she do? And Becky probably doesn't want to admit that she's a lot like her mom. She doesn't smoke, though. Well, Becky's mom's probably... Grace is probably the reason why Becky doesn't smoke. She does drink, though. And Grace definitely drinks. And then technically, Lucy could have a complicated relationship with her mom, but it's probably not as bad from her perspective. Whereas when it came down to Grace and Becky, Grace was a single parent at the time. And then given Becky's attributes, didn't exactly make things easy. That's about right. I'll probably put like the streak around here. That's that small bit of gray in her hair. Yeah, I've been sitting on Grace's design for a few years, because there wasn't like any rush to really draw her. Same thing for a few other characters. It just kind of ends up that way, where it's like, oh yeah, here's all these characters I want to draw, and then I have like no rush to draw them, because I'm already working on other things. I was like, well, I'll draw them when I get to them. But today I was just kind of in the mood. It's like, you know what, let's draw her. And she'll probably have like a little ankle bracelet or something. Probably with like some jewelry at the end of it. Nothing crazy. Yeah, Becky pretty much just has her mom's feather color and beak, and probably one of the eyes. Round out her cheeks a little bit more. pretty much her. Nothing special about her. Like, she doesn't have anything unique. She's just a duck. Right, resize this a bit bigger. Basically, just the struggles of being a single parent due to her escapades, and then Becky not being able to fit in with the other kids at the time because of her looks, and just making life a lot harder. And then plus there's like the possibility that Grace didn't even want to have Becky in the first place, and there probably would have been multiple choices that she would have taken, but at the end of the day she kept Becky, but probably regrets it to a degree. And then both of them always argue and get into fights, like almost all the time when they see each other. Yeah, but at that point in time, she actually had a guy that would stick around to help her out with another kid. And she had already had experience with Becky, so it's like, okay, this won't be as horrible. Especially since she'll have help. But when she had Becky, she was just on her own. Was very young at the time. And just kind of like pretty much blames Becky for like not being able to do certain things with her life. It's like, oh, maybe she wanted to do this with her life, but she couldn't because she had a kid. But at least with her husband around for Lucy, that like alleviated other things in the future. So unfortunately, Lucy doesn't have the same experience that Becky did. So Lucy will only understand to a certain point before it's just, lost context, because she's not going to have the same experience that Becky did growing up. And ultimately, it isn't fair. Especially since Lucy doesn't have any of the secondary traits that Becky does, because Lucy is just a normal duck. And if you were to put Lucy, Grace, and Bob all in the same picture, it's like, okay, it's just a duck family, but then you put Becky in there and then it just raises question marks. So it's pretty much that situation. I want to give her earrings. And they'll probably just like dangle on her feathers or something. I think I'll just give her like one in your earring or something. Close this. The hoop earrings. When it comes to Lucy's dad, or Bob, he's, like, Grace kind of, like, she does love him, but she also kind of hooked up with him because he was stable. But she probably knows that's the case. Like, he's probably like, yeah, that was probably the only reason why they stuck together or whatever. But at the same time, he kind of doesn't care. And then Becky's relationship with Bob is pretty simple. Most of the time they just chill on the couch and drink beer with each other. They don't really talk much, but they're not on like bad terms or anything. Yeah, despite her being totally irresponsible, bad parent, everything you can say, she didn't give up Becky. Like, after all that, she didn't give her up. So you gotta give her credit for that. She's not a great mom, but she did stick with the role. That's literally the only good thing you can really say about her. Hold on a moment. I'm back. Should she have some chest fur? How would that look? Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. It's not gonna be a big deal. I think that's pretty much all we need. There's not really much else I need to do with her. Don't really need to put on clasps or anything like that. And she doesn't have any nails or anything because she's a duck. Well, toenails, but that's a whole different thing. Let's kind of clean it up a little bit. And luckily, Becky and her sister don't have a bad relationship. Yeah, Lucy can be a bit of a valley girl, but they still care about each other. And then Becky doesn't like resent Lucy or anything like that. She might get a little bit upset that Lucy, the parenting around Lucy was a lot more balanced, I guess, the way to say it. She just had a better parenting with her, better relationship with her parents growing up compared to Becky. Because Bob didn't know Becky until I'm not sure about the time, because that's going to be the difficult part, is trying to see how many years Becky and Lucy are apart, and then when Becky started, like, you know, doing her own shit when she left at a young age. I want to say they're maybe 6-ish apart, I want to say, but I'll probably have to do the math on that when I do everyone's bios. I think 10 would be the limit, but I gotta figure that out. Just cleaning this up a bit. And yeah, and then, like, as Becky got older, Grace would mostly just complain about, oh, why don't you find a nice man to hook up with, or something like that, or you know, get in a relationship with, like, you know, just complaining, being a bitch. this out a little bit more. I think the joint's a little off. Bring this up a little bit more. There we go. Another good question would be, okay, so she was pregnant with Becky. Did she do a live birth or did she lay an egg? That's an interesting question. Probably an egg, if I had to be honest. That'd probably be the most logical thing, since her mom is primarily a duck. So laying an egg would probably make the most sense. I could probably make it slightly complicated though, like say, like, I don't know, Becky's egg was unusually big due to her genetics or something. I don't know. Whatever pops into my head if I ever get into that area. If I ever need to explain that. Okay, that should be enough. But yeah, I definitely want to focus a little bit on Grace's parenting as Becky got older. Yeah, it could be a lot of reasons, because it could be people watching Overwatch, Mother's Day is coming up, so people might be doing something early for Mother's Day, so it's fine. I'll probably go for another hour and then stop. So see how much I can get done. Let's swap the Becky art, because I'm gonna need her flat colors. Luckily I only have to focus on like 2 colors. Maybe 3 if I'm counting one of the eyes. Because I'm trying to remember if both Becky's eyes came from parents. Or it came from her other dads. Or if she has anything from her mom. Let's just make sure. Because this is why we write shit down. Because, like, certain parts of bios I can remember immediately, but then when I'm getting to, like, all the, like, nitty-gritty details, I'm just like, oh, okay. Guess I gotta pay attention to this shit. Blah, blah, blah. Myopic eyes. Let's see. Let me see what I gave her. Okay, that'd be ears, hair. Okay, yeah. Neither of her eyes are from her mom. So her mom would probably have a slightly different eye color. Well, we'll deal with that when I get all the other stuff down. Let's do this. So yeah, like, Becky also has to understand her mom's point of view from all this, because it's like her mom had to deal with, you know, Becky having an unnormal or unnatural like body type and all that, so she had to worry about, you know, what Becky could eat, type of thing. Certain traits coming up as she was getting older, like, you know, Becky starting to lactate as her chest would get bigger and stuff like that, having multiple breasts, what her monthly visitor would be like, type of thing. You know, her mom had to worry about a bunch of shit, and she probably just, you know, started getting overwhelmed by stress. Possibly, maybe, could be why her mom drinks and smokes, who knows at the moment. Well, I mean, technically I should know, but debating on if that would be the case. Erase this. Oh yeah, because Becky has the... Because I updated Becky's bio since then. So Becky's now 6'4". So I want to say her mom is probably 5'4", so a foot shorter. Maybe either, I want to say 5 to 5'4". Like, her mom's relatively short. So Becky just towers over her. Let's get her beak. So yeah, pretty much anything duck on Becky is what she got from her mom. Oh yeah, I need to erase that. I'll get that in a sec. And then, like, one of the other things is that Becky is, like, half nocturnal, so you'd have Becky just being wide awake at night. So that also caused problems. And then there was probably or most likely problems at Becky's schools and stuff like that because of her being teased, and that probably just made Grace working a job harder because she would get calls from school and stuff like that. So just the whole experience just didn't make it easy for either of them. So that's why Grace can be a bit of an asshole now. And then Becky's an asshole mostly because of other people making it hard. But her mom having to, like, you know, not only work a lot, but also try to still be not tied down by having a kid, so, you know, she'd be sleeping around to not be home when she needed to be. Probably made half-assed lunches or something like that. Or probably just passed out drunk. Who knows? She probably did a lot of bad choices. That didn't help anyone. But she definitely made sure not to get knocked up until she met Bob. Because at that point she was okay with it, wanting to have a child with him. Okay. Zoomed in, are we gonna be on her? Yeah. I need to work on how sketchy these drawings get. Granted, you're not gonna notice most of the time, but still something to think about. Alright, her hair. She has a bit of a Karen-esque hairstyle. I think I'll go with the darker of these two. So yeah, when I do Becky's story, it'll mostly focus on how Becky grew up and her relationship with her family. At first I was thinking of doing a storyline where she goes out of her way to the band that her mom basically had an orgy with, and try to get something from that. But then I was like, nah, no, like, realistically, Becky wouldn't even want to be involved with them. Because she would probably just think they're all just pieces of shit. Maybe in the beginning she was probably a little cautious about what Becky is capable of doing. But then as the years went on, it probably wasn't an issue. Definitely that would have been a problem around other kids when Becky was growing up. But, you know, this is Becky's mom, so that probably would not have come up in that, or at least not like that. Maybe if they get in an actual fight, like if they start, you know, trying to smack each other around type of thing, then yeah, Becky would most likely overpower her mom. But it probably wouldn't get that far, but a lot of verbal abuse. But yeah, definitely, you know, her mom probably wasn't sure what to think, because it's like, okay, she has all these different traits, and obviously they're all giving her medical issues, because that's how her mom would later on figure out, you know, what to look out for when it came to Becky. It's like, okay, what can and can't she eat? Which, luckily, she didn't have to worry about that, because Becky can pretty much put anything away, since she's part goat as well. But it was mostly just, you know, the stress of, you know, school life for Becky not making it easy on Grace trying to hold down a job without being called away constantly. And then probably working as a single mother wasn't very financially stable to begin with, because Becky and Grace are not rich or anything, so they're already in a poor neighborhood. At least at the time. Like, they probably got a little bit better off once Bob came around, but definitely not in the beginning. So you have like a single mother trying to take care of a physically challenged daughter, I guess would be the word for it, or just a daughter with unusual traits, because I guess technically you could consider Becky handicapped to a degree, but she's like functional. And then you have Grace probably worried, or probably dealing with, like, you know, rude remarks from like other people. Probably talking behind her back and stuff like that, making up some random ass story about her or something because of Becky. Which they probably wouldn't be incorrect if they were to say, like, oh, she was probably a slut or some shit. It's like, yeah, she pretty much was. She was definitely a slut. And maybe I will put in an instance where her and Becky start to get physical, and probably show how vicious Becky could be if she was pushed to a point where she just stopped caring. At least violent-wise, because there's other ways for her to stop caring. But then Bob will probably step in. Close to similar makeup. Becky probably borrowed her mom's stuff when she was younger. And then then another question is whether or not Grace told Becky, like, who her fathers were. Because, like, now I don't want to do it because I don't think Becky would actually care on who her fathers were at this point. But if she did, like, you know, where would that take it? Because the other idea could be that Becky's favorite band is the band that Grace had sex with. So there's that angle. But, like, Becky would never know. And maybe Grace would kind of tell her, like, hey, stop listening to that music or some shit like that. And that could hint that she's trying to keep Becky away from them. Or at least, you know, not make it so obvious. But then Becky just, you know, defies her and just listens to the band anyway. It's not like Becky can go out of her way to really see the band. Or maybe she does see the band, she just it doesn't click to Becky that those are her parents, or those are her fathers. So, there's a lot of ways to go about it, depending on how I structure Becky's backstory with them. But ultimately is just Becky and Grace did not have a good start. Maybe I'll make the age gap between Becky and Lucy a little bit wider, so that way there's just more history with Becky and her mom. So that way, by the time Lucy comes around, there's just such a big distance between how Becky and her mom fared compared to Lucy and her mom that they just don't get the same context. So that'll probably be the case with that. Depends on how that situation would go, because one of the ideas was that Grace had got a backstage pass to be with the entire group, and she of course signs a waiver, and that would excuse them for any shenanigans that goes down, and thus, you know, if she did get knocked up, they weren't legally responsible. So there's that. And then it could also be that the absurdity that all of them could impregnate her at the same time wouldn't make sense to other people. Like, probably other people wouldn't believe her at first. And they would have to, like, you know, figure all that out. And plus, you know, you gotta think about legal shit, so that's gonna cost her a shit ton of money that she doesn't have. Or at least she assumes she wouldn't be able to afford, because, you know, because it also depends on how young she was when all this went down. And her being naive on any legalities and stuff like that. What kind of purple? Probably like I'll just use this purple. Just a little bit lighter. So, heavily relies on how ignorant she was of the whole situation. Because I want to say she was probably 16, at most 18 when she did all that. But I'll have to figure all that out when I do her bio. Because it's not just her and Becky that I gotta think about, I gotta think about Lucy too. So yeah, there'll be a lot to work with when I get it down. Yeah. Just the entire situation was just not in her favor. Because, like, I could make a situation where she does go after the band for some type of support, but then, like, their lawyer or whatever brings up, like, the waiver that she signed when all that went down, and thus she doesn't have a leg to stand on. And so she just has to deal with the whole situation on her own. And like, luckily it wasn't like she had multiple kids or anything like that, but, you know, having a child that's literally 14 different creatures mixed together with all sorts of possible medical issues, it just wasn't gonna make life easy. especially since she was so young. And then I could probably just say, like, you know, Grace's parents weren't too cool with her doing what she did, and probably just kicked her ass out. Like, they probably just told her to get out and didn't look back. And that's why she had to get, like, some random part-time job, or however much hours she could get. So Grace herself probably doesn't have a good relationship with her own parents. Yep. She was double fucked by the band, both physically and financially. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility that can go with the storylines, like, you know, like Becky's mom probably hates the band now, and that's why she tries to make Becky not listen to them or something. Not know, with Becky being unaware that those are that the band is her biological fathers. And it could be like Grace just doesn't want her to know, because it's like, what is there to gain from that? It's like, oh yeah, here are your 13 fathers. They all, each and every single one of them, did not give a shit about you. Congratulations, you found out. And if her mom did tell her the story of, like, oh, how was she conceived? It was like, obviously she can't hide that she banged several different species, so the best way her mom could probably put it was just like, oh, you know, got drunk and wasted, did my shit. And it's like, what is she supposed to say? So the only good answer to that is just, yeah, I was a slut. Done. That way Becky doesn't have to think anything of it and move on. Like, there's nothing to gain. Is it a shit move? Probably. But better to spare Becky the heartache than to tell the truth on that particular subject. At least from Grace's point of view, it might be better. Who knows? Maybe it would have been better if Becky did know. But knowing how Becky's character is, the logic she would probably have by that point in time would just be, well, they're assholes. They didn't want to stick around or help, so why should she care about them? So Becky probably wouldn't even give a shit. They are aware. Like, all they know is that they found out that they knocked her up, and that she was trying to either get something or contact them or whatever, but, you know, they were all rock stars and stuff at the time, so they all just shrugged it off and was like, she signed the waivers and all that, we don't have to deal with her. And they probably just said comments behind her back, like, at least she was a good fuck or some shit like that. Or even talk shit on her if she tried to, like, start something. Like, if she tried to somehow take it to court, even though she didn't have any bearings. But, nah, they're all just pieces of shit. There was a story I had where they all did care about Becky, and they, like, took her to, like, an amusement park for a day to you know, hang out. But, I don't know, it just seemed like something that wouldn't realistically happen to Becky. And it was just something to help add to her being bitter. I could probably do like an alternate story timeline where they did talk to her. But canonically, no, none of them gave a shit. maybe there's like some cosmic justice where the band ended up like just becoming deadbeats later on, like their band just kind of plummeted or something. But nothing like information that Becky wouldn't be thinking about, but maybe Grace would. Like she would probably keep tabs on them and then find out like, oh, their band broke up and they're all pieces of shit and they all lost their money or some shit. And she'd probably get like a little bit of happiness from that, knowing that, you know, they ended up not getting a good ending. But still, it's just, you know, still doesn't help. But Grace is better off now. She has Bob. And I don't know, I'll probably think maybe there'll be like a story where she found out she got pregnant with Bob and she started like having PTSD about, you know, what happened with the band, but then Bob, you know, sticks around and doesn't abandon her. Pretty much solidifies that Bob's a keeper. So yeah, just to show that, you know, the experience with Bob is not at all the same as her experience with the band. I think we're good on colors. I can do her cigarette later when I'm doing the effects. I do think her legs look a little bit too long. But we can shorten. Excuse me, we can shorten that though. Just a tad too big. You're too long. There we go. Cool. And then just there we go. And this is just casual wear because it's like, maybe I should change the shorts color so that way she just kind of threw it together. Make her like skinnier. Yeah, you can do that just a little bit. So she's not like super old, but old enough. Let's go about here. And if I need to adjust it, I can. Let's try it this way first, and then I'll tweak it if I have to. This way. How does that look? Because like I can adjust things, but how does that look? Does it look better this way? Because I can always, you know, fix up the line art and other stuff, but getting the point across. Not sure how long the delay is. Slight improvement. Should it be skinnier, or is this fine? Yeah, she was probably a little bit more toned back then. Waiting a little bit because the small delay. So yeah, should these be a little bit skinnier, or do you think they're good as they are? Because worst case scenario, I can just adjust certain parts. Try skinnier again. Okay, let me see. So let's keep what we have right here, and then I'll tweak her line art. So let's turn all this off first, because that way it's easier to work with. So give her a bit of a skinny butt. Everything else is simple. Tweak her shorts. Actually, do better. On her tail at the moment. Definitely still want her to have a bit of a pooch. Okay, so for the legs, they're here. I can probably tone down this side. I probably need it most. Back out of it. Let's probably do like this. And then on this side, probably tone it down about here. Nope, not Lucy. This is Becky's mom. Those feathers. Smoky flavor. probably about here. And we'll probably tone down this part. So that way she's a lot thinner. But yeah, when she was younger, think of her as just like probably cheerleader physical type of thing. But like she wasn't a cheerleader, she was just a groupie. But she was like, you know, thin. And if I really wanted to get dark about it, I could just say that the only reason why she kept Becky was because, oh, it's one of the band members' kids, and then it wasn't until Becky was born that she saw that Becky had like all these different traits and stuff. So there's that aspect if I really wanted to go into it, but I think her just, you know, sticking with wanting to, with being a mother instead of taking any other exit strategies was probably better. Or is probably better for her. Okay. So we got that. She's a lot skinnier now. And then we just gotta fix her colors. Yeah. Yeah, now I just need to fix her color. I don't need to go up there, so delete, and now we just fix all this. So blue and purple. First. Yeah, I think I'm going to change her shorts color. Because that way it'll look like she just kind of threw it on. Since this is supposed to be a casual outfit anyway. We'll change the shorts color entirely. Nope. All Becky got from her mom is her black feathers, beak, and poor drinking habits. And, well, probably sexual habits too, since Becky doesn't mind getting around if she needs to. Yep. Becky's mom is... she's something. That's the best way to phrase it. Let me put this under this, because that way it can separate it between the shirt and the pants. There we go. Just color over this. Color we want to be using. There we go. the same thing here. Oh no. Becky's mom is... Because Becky and Lucy have a pretty significant age gap. So Lucy didn't have the same experiences that Becky did. And plus, Becky's biological fathers didn't stick around, whereas Lucy's did. There we go. That looks like something to do. Okay, just fix the legs. I don't know if beautiful would be the word that she would say to Becky, but as far as she's concerned, Becky is perfectly fine. And there's nothing wrong with her. I mean, obviously medical stuff says otherwise, but Grace would never talk down on Becky's looks. I don't know if her opinion of beauty would be why she wouldn't use that word, but it's just like she wouldn't talk shit on Becky's looks, aside from like a typical mother bullshit type of thing where, you know, like Becky could come to visit and she'll be like, "Oh, Rebecca, you're finally here," and then take a small glance at her and he's like, "You look like shit," or some shit like that. Like, she would probably say some witty banter like that, but she wouldn't, like, demean Becky by her looks. Daffy Duck's sister. Okay, so got all that. Next. And I'm sure somebody's probably said to Becky, "It's like, oh, that's a daughter only a mother could love," or some shit like that. Someone's probably made that rude remark to her at some point. And maybe there could be a moment in time where Becky's mom like stepped in and probably took a shot or something. I don't know. Like, probably beat the shit out of somebody. Probably got in trouble for it, but there might have been a situation where that had come up, but obviously she can't do that forever. Her name is Grace. Haven't decided on what her maiden name was. It's technically Darkwater, because when I was thinking of the name Darkwaters, it was mostly for Becky. Wasn't really taking into account her seeing her family until later, and until maybe a year or two down the line after I made her. But can always just say, but obviously when I make Bob, try to make Darkwaters kind of fit with him, but you have to take into account that Lucy's feather color is yellow, so his feather color is likely going to be yellow, or at least probably comes from one of his family members is where the yellow came from, or maybe he'll have a little bit of yellow on him. But yeah, this is Mommy Dearest. And Grace does love Becky, it's just a lot of things were hard and difficult from when she was a single mother. And like we said before, the biggest plus that Grace has with her relationship with Becky is that she stuck around. She didn't give her up. She didn't take any easy ways out. Well, quote unquote easy. She didn't stop trying to be a mother. Yeah, he's pretty much all that except for the beard part. He's not gonna have a beard. But yeah, the relationship that Becky has with her stepfather, or however you want to call him, is that they have very short conversations. They just kind of say hi, and then they sit down on the couch and drink beer together. That's kind of it. Nothing really more than that Becky needs from him. And Lucy can be a bit of a chatterbox, given the chance. And that is my phone. Keep forgetting to turn that off before I do a stream. Ta-da. Yeah, go for it. I'm just gonna go a little bit longer until I have her artwork done. And then I'll probably call it as well. But yeah, it's gonna be at least another half an hour or so before she's done. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free. Some of them I answered with just Alex here, but I don't mind repeating it. Just, you know, feel free to ask. I will say that not everything is 100% solidified with Grace. Just some like key stuff. But like I pretty much have what I want down with her already, because I already thought of Grace like years ago with her story with her. It's just a matter of me writing it all down and making it official. Yep, this is Becky's mama. For better or worse. Oh yeah, these two will definitely drink whatever alcohol they could get their hands on, especially if they're pissed off. Grace is definitely where Becky got her drinking habits from. Becky does not smoke though, unlike her mother. So at least Becky has that on her. But yeah, they are both alcoholics. But yeah, visits with her mom is just sit around, chat for a little bit, watch shitty television, drink, maybe stay over. Probably get into an argument about something and then leave, and then do it all over again the next time she visits. They probably just talk about random bullshit. Probably talk shit on people. Maybe get a little bit into some sensitive topics. Like the bullshit that Blake has to deal with at home. Because of her status. And Becky supplies the booze. Not that she should, but she does it anyway. Because from Becky's point of view, it's like, Becky went through a lot of bullshit herself, so it's like, here kid, here's some alcohol, get you through all this bullshit. So yeah, Becky, not exactly the best adult to go to for personal problems, but she at least understands. some of it. They wouldn't have a drinking match, but you would definitely see them drinking more alcohol than necessary. Just trying to not, like, go at each other's throats. And then Pax will probably just be there being nervous. And then, depending on how I make Lucy's personality, it'll probably be either Lucy just trying to learn more about Pax, or she'll probably bring up something dumb like, oh, so do you guys have sex or some shit like that? And then Becky's just like, what the fuck? It's like, of all the questions you could ask, why would you ask that? Well, realistically, the whole beer belly thing wouldn't be a thing. But hypothetically, if that did happen, she'd probably just make a joke about it, but then Blake would just tease Becky back because Becky has 2 stomachs. And Becky has a pooch belly anyway. And a large ass, so there's more ammo for Blake to get at with Becky than there is for Becky to get at with Blake. Yeah, Blake's a keeper. You'd cuddle the bun. Oh no, Lucy's fully aware of Becky and their mom's relationship. Lucy's kind of like the Valley Girl type, and because she didn't have the same upbringing that Becky did, she's like she understands the bad relationship, but she just won't fully be able to understand Becky's point of view of it because Lucy didn't get the same type of parenting. Because, like, with Becky, at the time, Becky's mom was a single parent, so she was, like, struggling with, trying to pay for rent because they lived on their own, getting called from schools because, of the constant teasing that Becky would be getting due to her looks, and not being financially taken care of by Becky's biological fathers because of legal shit. So just a lot of bad stuff that happened with Grace when trying to take care of Becky, and then when she married Bob, which is Lucy's dad, things were a lot easier because he stuck around. He stuck around and helped, you know, take care of both Lucy and Becky. So by the time Lucy came around, Becky was already a lot older. So it's just a different points in time and point of view. But Lucy does understand there's a bad relationship between Becky and their mom, but she's just not going to get the full well, she probably knows some of the context, but she's not going to get all of it. She's not going to be told all of it either by her mom. And yes, Blake is a cute bun. Yeah, Becky is just always gonna have a bad time with her mom. Well, Black Cherry was originally going to be Black Licorice because there was going to be like a lore thing to go on with her, with the names and stuff like that. But then she got moved over into the Fruit Girls category, so her name had to be changed. Same thing for White Chocolate, who became White Pomegranate. And for White Pomegranate, I had to change her colors too because it didn't match with where I was going anymore. Hypothetically, if they did show up at Lucy's job, yeah, that would probably happen. Because it's bad enough that you already have the mother of the girl you're trying of the girl you're trying to like hit on or mess with, but then you got her sister there too, and her sister, which is Becky, she's already 6'4". So you got two pissed off ladies who are relatives already drinking and stuff. So yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. And both of them aren't afraid to throw down. And Becky's the worst of the two because Becky has all that other physical traits you'd have to worry about because she's got tiger arms and fucking horse legs and shit like that and kangaroo thighs. So Becky is the definitely the one you don't want to get your ass beaten by. If anything, Grace would probably be like, Rebecca, hold him down. It's like, oh shit. She like kicks the shit out of you or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, if they ever did have like a better relationship, they'd probably just be really good at beating the shit out of other people like a team. Good mother-daughter, what you call it, time spending. It's like, oh, here's our bonding time. Becky and Daffy Duck. Becky would probably just kick his ass. She wouldn't deal with this shit. Yeah, they'd probably grill him. Especially since Grace has already had bad relationships with men, so... Yeah, that would probably happen, and then Becky is already judgmental on people. So yeah, that would likely happen. And then Lucy would be like, oh my god, like, this is why I don't bring guys over. And then that would just raise more questions. She's like, or Grace would probably be like, how many relationships have you gotten into? Which Lucy probably wouldn't answer. Becky would probably know, because Lucy often tells Becky stuff. Yeah, that'd probably come up. Or if he was like about to get his ass kicked, you just see Becky cracking her knuckles. Let me fix that. It's like, oh hell, someone's about to get their ass beat. Almost got everything I need. Yeah, Grace would likely just make sure he's like sincere and not just in it to get some booty. Becky would likely just do the same. Maybe be a little bit more blunt and harsh. Okay. Don't really need this anymore. be funny. Okay, so this here. Oh yeah, Becky would just be like... Becky would probably just be like, ah, so you're into my sister, huh? It's like, let's see, what do you like about her, huh? You just like her for her tits or her ass or some shit? And Lucy would be like, oh my god, Becky, please stop, you're drunk right now. And he's like, I'm not drunk, I can drink 3 more of these before I'm actually drunk. And I'm not talking about glasses, I'm talking about the bottles. She'd probably just, you know, be all uppity about it, but then get back to the subject, and he's like, okay. He's like, oh yeah. So he's like, so have you two fucked yet? And this is assuming like her and her mom have been drinking already, so they're probably already drunk and tipsy while interrogating. So maybe she wouldn't be as blunt if she was sober, but she'd still be a bitch about it. Same for her mom. For their mom, they wouldn't be as loose with their wording, but they still be assholes about it. And then pretty much the worst thing that Lucy's boyfriends could ever do is assume that Becky and Grace would be understanding about certain things. Where it's like, oh, just, you know, your mom's gonna be understanding about this happening. And Lucy would be like, oh, hell no, you do not know my mother. Do not tell her dumb shit. That is a death sentence. It's like if you didn't have the money to pay for rent, and then the boyfriend would be like, oh, your mom will understand, you'll be able to pay her back. Like, no. Their mom would want the money there and then, and if you don't have it, get the fuck out. She'd be that kind of way. Not saying Grace would actually do that to Lucy, at least. Like, she'll probably kick the boyfriend out if that was the case, but she probably wouldn't do that to Lucy. But that would be the kind of attitude you would expect. She probably wouldn't slip him a condom, but she'd definitely tell him to wrap it up. Assuming Lucy and the boyfriend weren't going at it already, but she'd definitely tell him to wrap it up. And Lucy would be like, God damn it. Grace would probably be more likely to slip a condom if she respected the relationship enough. And that's only because of Grace's situation with Becky, so it's more likely that she would be the one to slip a condom. Whereas Becky would just be like, wrap it before you tap it, and move on with her day with some alcohol. Yep. Yeah, just embarrass Lucy more. And then you have Lucy's dad to deal with, assuming he has any input on the matter. He'd probably just be blunt and just say, you know, be responsible or something, like nothing crazy. Because, you know, after a certain point, it's only up to the individual on what they do with themselves. But definitely don't do what Grace did when she conceived Becky. Yep, exactly, but she'd be like, what the hell, Becky? Well, yeah, that's what you gotta do when you're making characters. You gotta get into the actual headspace. You gotta think, okay, what would these characters most likely do in this scenario, acting the way you want them to act? And you gotta basically roleplay. You gotta actually think about it and be them. And that's how you can get like more realistic writing, because it's like, okay, don't just make a Deus Ex Machina scenario for them. Make it so that it actually functions in the world that they are living in. So, like, you know, if somebody runs a red light, don't just ignore that completely. Like, maybe there was a cop around and they saw, or maybe they got caught on camera. Maybe they hit somebody. Maybe none of that stuff happened. Maybe they just, oh, they got to run a red light. No cameras. They're good. Move on with their day. But at least, like, you know, show how logical and legitimate that could be. And, like, say they have, like, a passenger with them. They're like, dude, you just ran a red light. Like, nah, don't worry about it. There's no cameras on this street. And then there you go. You explain that. Like, you know, just treat it like you would in a normal situation, but you can still mix in some of the supernatural or fantasy elements into it. But you gotta work with the world that you establish. So, like, if there's magical beings, then you gotta treat the world as if magical beings exist, and don't just ignore it. So it's like, oh, everyone has magic powers, and it's like, okay, how does that work with the economy? Because if people have magic powers, does that mean they can just solve a lot of their problems with magic? Or, you know, can they do alchemy and create gold? You know, you got to take all that stuff into account, because if you don't, then people are, well, not only are people going to poke holes in your logic, but the world itself is going to poke holes in their logic when you try to do something later in the future where it's like, oh no, I can't do this. And it's like, wait, why can't you do this? You literally are magic. And you also have to, like, make sure you scale powers too. So it's like, if a person can destroy a meteor but for some reason can't lift a building, then there's a problem. Because it's like, okay, that doesn't make a lick of sense. It's kind of like in what was that show? Once Upon a Time. I think it was season 3 when they went to Neverland. There's like a moment where they have to do something with the moon, and for some reason the characters who were so powerful throughout the entirety of the fucking seasons up until that point, you know, doing curses and other bullshit, it's like, oh yeah, I can do all this, but moving the moon or whatever they had to do with the moon, like, I think they just had to cover it up with clouds or some shit like that. It was like, oh yeah, moving clouds to cover the moon, somehow this is fucking impossible. And I'm just sitting there going like, what? Cause like, I'm like, whoa, that's bullshit. You were able to do so many ridiculous feats, but moving clouds, somehow that's a fucking chore. So yeah, like, you gotta pay attention to your own world. Like, you have to, or else it just falls apart. That's why a lot of, like, or certain video games kind of fall into this trap. Because it's like with Sonic 06, it's like, oh, we can time travel with Chaos Emeralds now. And I'm like, wait, if you could do that, how is there any problems ever? Because all you would need is one emerald and you could basically solve everything. Luckily, Sonic 06 kind of retcons itself So maybe the characters just didn't learn that they could time travel after the fact because of what happens in the events of Sonic 06. But still, like, that could have been a problem if they didn't retcon itself, but luckily they did. But yeah, like, that's just one of those things that you gotta pay attention to. Like, if you establish certain things, you have to keep them in your mind and take them into account when you introduce future stuff. And that's like one of the reasons why when people asked if in the neutral ending of iHat if that because people wanted Skylar to make Tiffany fat and then just let her go and be humiliated at school and stuff like that. And realistically, that did not make sense because Skylar was already hiding the fact that he could manipulate food to begin with. And then you want him to just let her go where she's able to basically tell everyone what he's capable of doing. And then I think at that point we had already established that he was with like other characters too, or at least I hinted towards it. And so if the other girls existed, you have to account for them, so it just made a little sense for Skylar to let somebody go, and that's why he offed her in that version of the ending. Luckily for Tiffany, she got that all got retconned with True Ending, so that didn't come to pass, because True Ending was kind of, the whole point of that was just to make things make more sense, so that way certain events play out better. So yeah. But yeah, definitely if you're making a character or a world, you gotta pay attention to everything you do. Because if it doesn't make sense, then it's gonna fall apart. Like, for me, the hardest part for me is that because I've introduced so many different types of creatures and stuff like that, I have to make sure, like, certain aspects are taken into account. Because it's like, I introduced that, you know, mixed breeding is a thing in their world. And so, technically, Becky would not be like the weirdest thing for people to see, but because she has so many creatures, you have to take into account, okay, Becky has this many creatures, that's not normal, so of course people are going to poke at it. So it's one of those type of situations where you gotta show that yes, even though there's mixed breeding, it's never gone to the extremes that Becky has, and so that's why she's singled out. Yeah, like if Skylar's secret got let out, there's several different ways you can go about it. You can have police involved, you can have people, you know, trying to ask him to assist him in things. You can have people not believing Tiffany, or not believing that he can do that, or maybe he just stops using his ability altogether because there's too many eyes on him now. Or if he does do something, people will think he's cheating, or, you know, however ways you want to play it. Because, like, if you've ever watched the cartoon X-Men Evolution, there's a point in the series where the main populace finds out that the main characters are all mutants and they all have powers. And so, like, the character Jean Grey, she used to be in a bunch of sports events and stuff. So when she was playing basketball, she throws the ball and makes a shot, and one of the students says, hey, she used her powers, and so she gets told to sit out PE, or sit out the practice or whatever it was. And Jean has a hard time defending that she didn't use her powers, because her powers are psychic and telepathy and stuff like that. Like, it's abilities you can't see. So it's like, how do you even explain that? Or how do you defend that? And so, to make matters worse, the principal of their school starts removing all of the trophies that she had won, because as far as he could tell, she probably cheated and none of their success was legit. So there's stuff like that that can happen. Because in Skylar's world and all that, there are people that have like special abilities and stuff like that, and the hard part is figuring out who has what. And that's why you have special characters who are like aura sensors. Like they can detect if people have like higher than normal aura and possibly special abilities and stuff like that. But they are like very rare. And so luckily in Skylar's case, it's very unlikely for those type of people to be in his neighborhood and where he lives and stuff like that, because those type of people are rare, and plus they're probably expensive to even get them out there to even help or even observe. So the likelihood of Skylar being spotted in that scenario is pretty low, but it's something to take into account with like future stories and future characters, because it is a thing. So yeah, there's just multiple ways to go about it, and it's just a matter of how you balance it all out. Me, it's probably very difficult to do because I've introduced so much that I have to explain later on. Because different characters are involved with different things. That's why in True Ending, Skylar isn't involved with Daylock the Devil. Because realistically, why would the devil give a shit if he lived or died? So he didn't gain his abilities from her like he did in the neutral ending. The hard part about this picture is that it's gonna be so dark, so I gotta brighten the hell out of her when I get all her details done. Probably turn this off for a bit, just so I can see. And no, it's better off this way. So yeah, just obviously there's probably going to be some points in a story you're just not going to take into account, but you know, just try your best. See, that boils down. If there was a contest like that with my characters, a lot of the characters probably wouldn't even bother participating, because there's like godlike characters that exist who could probably take the challenge a lot easier than others. So unless you like broke it up into different like brackets of who are allowed to compete with who, then you have that scenario. Because there's like the character Gluttony, who can literally just eat and consume as much as she likes. Then you have the Creamfield cast, who can almost do anything they want. Like there's a limit, but it depends on where those limits lie. And then you have other divine entities that could probably be unaffected by alcohol. Unless you've like put on some type of rule that that their abilities are like cut off to a degree. Because then it boils down to like, okay, what is skill and what is like a natural ability? Because if someone's not affected by alcohol, then they're just not affected by alcohol, and there's nothing you can do about that. I need to zoom in a bit because my eyes are getting blurry with how far away she was getting because of the background. But if you just want to get wacky with it, then, you know, just pick a favorite of what character you want to win and then make up random scenarios for the other characters to fail. And then there you go. Like, as long as you're having fun with it, and it really doesn't matter. That'll help make it easier to see. And I can just touch it up when I turn it back on. Alright, take care. I'm almost done with this. Brighten your face up a bit. Just gotta brighten up the parts of her that are being highlighted. Why your color's so dark? I was like, because, well, she's a black duck. What do you expect? Take care. I'll probably stay on for a few more minutes and then I'll cut the stream. Thank you for coming. Okay. Now we just gotta do this. Pretty much getting to easy parts. Well, they're easy, but they're also just time consuming. Close these, don't need these anymore. Get the edges. Okay. It's pretty much the easiest part out of this. It's just, you know, once you got everything else down, it's just a matter of just polishing it as much as you can. And some of this stuff is optional, like you don't even have to necessarily do all of this. It just, you know, possibly makes it nicer. It just depends on the style you're going for. Okay. Do the same on this frame. Probably don't need to do it as much. Just some subtle spots. Just where I think she'd most need it. So I don't want to use it too much. He says as he possibly uses this too much. Yeah, with this type of highlight, I kind of just want to imply some of the lighting. Okay, that should be enough for maybe one on her knee, but that's about it. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah. Okay, last but not least. Yeah, let's do it the other way. Do that. Probably turn this down a little bit more. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, to that, to that, to that. Next. Got all this. This is just to add some color. I know other people use those to brighten things up. Probably unnecessary, but actually let's kind of tone it down a bit. Let's just do it lightly. We'll start from the beginning on this, since I didn't play it earlier. lastly, get her legs in a moment. Just put a little bit more than that. Almost thought about painting her nails, but decided not to. Since this is a more casual look, so maybe when she's trying to dress up, she'll do her nails. Alright, just need to light her cigarette. Alright, now I just give her some basic bitch background. Let's look at Becky's. See what we did for her. Okay. Probably just do the same, well, not the same that I did with Becky's, but just give her a similar color scheme. Becky's has a curtain texture. I don't want to use that. Just change the direction. And let's move her here. Brighten the top a little bit. No, that's too much. Look at it this way. And something. Maybe I'll give some kind of texture. Something not crazy. This should be fine. Welcome back. I'm almost done. I'm just doing the background for her. And we're pretty much good. Let's do it this way. Just gotta wait for the background to render out. Thank you. And that looks like shit, so let's blur it. Let's try 40. Yeah, 40 looks like it'll be alright. Nah, still looks like shit. Let's try 60. How about spotting the change? Okay, barely see it, so yeah, let's do that. Just gotta wait for it to finish rendering. Okay. That's not too bad. Let's check the other ones. Might have to give her a bit of a halo so it's easier to see. Lightning's not too bad. So yeah, let's give her a halo. Let's give her 12. Rest her eyes. Zoom in on her. like 50 or 70. 70 always seems to be like the magic number for me. Yeah, that's fine. And lastly, just put my name on it. And there you have it. Here is Grace. I will probably make her bio a little bit later, and then I'll post her publicly. But yeah, that is Becky's mom. So thank you everyone that came. I will stream again soon. Maybe I'll stream playing a game or something sometime. But yeah, I will work on more comic stuff as well as something else I'm working on that I can't really talk about right now. But yeah, when everything's ready, I will post again soon. So talk to you guys later. Bye bye.